This is the plaintiff, Scott. He says he rented a house from the defendant, and after Hurricane Sandy hit, it became uninhabitable. Now the defendant's turned into a real jerk, is withholding his security deposit, and he's not about to let him get away without and out ripping him off. He's suing for $2,100, the amount he's owed. This is the defendant, Bill. He says a canal across the street from the house flooded in a hurricane, and 3 feet of water entered his home, broke a fuel line, and caused an oil spill. Luckily, there was no damage to the floor where the plaintiff lived. The plaintiff decided to move out anyway, left his place a mess with many damages, and as a landlord, he has a right to withhold his security. In fact, if anyone's owed money, it's him. He's accused of ripping off a tenant. The defendant has filed a countersuit for $5,000 for additional damages and unpaid rent.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case in the docket, the plaintiff rented a house from the defendant. Sandy hit, and the place was unlivable. But the defendant says the plaintiff left the place a mess, and the hurricane really didn't cause any damage. It's the case of rock you like a hurricane.
You're welcome, okay, Scott, you've asked to be referred to only by your first name. You are suing Bill. You've also asked to be referred to only by your first name. For $2,100, your security deposit from your former landlord. He is counterclaiming against you $5,000 because, according to him, you gave him no notice and you destroyed the place when you left. Tell me what happened.
Well, Your Honor, I moved into Bill's house September 2008. I gave him $4,200 cash, which was his request at the time.
And that was what? First
1 month security and first month's rent.
Okay.
Actually, I have a copy of that receipt right here.
And that was how long ago?
I gave it to him August of 2008 for September
okay.
rent.
So you lived there quite a bit.
Yeah, I lived there over 4 years.
Okay.
It's a high ranch. I lived upstairs.
What's a high ranch?
You walk in, you can go upstairs, you can go downstairs.
Okay.
So the defendant lived downstairs, I occupied upstairs. Lived there over 4 years, never got a single complaint from Bill during that time. The problem started with Hurricane Sandy.
Okay.
Monday, October 29th last year. Storm caused huge devastation in the area. There was also significant damage to the defendant's home as well. One of the biggest problems was that the home's heating oil tank was knocked over, causing spilling all the oil everywhere. I spoke with the defendant that night.
So that it didn't spill in your living space.
No, it was the first floor.
But the smell
It was the first floor.
was
Correct.
difficult for you.
Yeah, the defendant said to stay elsewhere for a couple of days because of the fumes.
Right.
So a couple of days later, on the 31st, I went back to the house, grabbed some essentials, and it was really bad, Your Honor. The fumes were awful from the spill. The defendant didn't open any windows to air out the place, and the fumes just built up for days. There was no heat, no hot water. There was no power in the house.
All right. So you stay somewhere else, and when do you come back and realize the smell's still not gone?
Well, I actually didn't speak with the defendant until the 4th, which was Sunday, and he let me know he was taking care of everything and not to worry, and then he asked me for November rent. It was an uncomfortable call. You know, I said, look, you know, I'm sorry, but the place is not habitable in this condition, and I can't give you the rent until it is, and I'm back living there. And he gave me an attitude, and he was upset, and I said, look, I'm sorry, you know, this is the way it's got to be. I obviously wanted to protect myself. I didn't hear from the defendant again on the 9th, actually, which was a Friday night. I had dinner at a restaurant near the defendant's home. After dinner, I went to go check on the place, and it was still bad. There was still no heat, still no hot water. The place still reeked of oil.
Is it accurate that there was no heat and no hot water?
That's correct.
Okay. What happened, actually?
There was a 14-foot surge Monday night.
What city are you in?
Massapequa,
New York.
South Shore of Long Island.
Okay.
And I chose to stay home. I've been living in the house since 1980, 32 years. I've gone through many hurricanes. And in the past, only the street would flood.
You're talking to Miami girl. I know. Nothing's going to happen. Those meteorologists, they just make such a big deal about stuff. They love pretending that's going to hit. And then it hits.
Right. Boy, did it hit. And like you said, after 32 years, I just said, not really. And I was in the house. I was in the house around 6:30 at night and talking to one of my daughters. And I'm looking, and in the kitchen, water's coming in. Now, I knew outside there was probably like 5 feet of water by that time surrounding the house. I see water coming in the kitchen. So I said, Allison, I gotta go. I gotta take care of this. So I got
What
off
are you
the
going to do?
phone.
Get a straw and start spit like?
What I did is I took my 2 dogs upstairs.
Okay.
I couldn't leave the house at that point.
No.
Took my 2 dogs upstairs. Then I came back from my golf clubs.
Priorities.
You're right.
Yeah, priorities. And then, of course, I came back with my big screen TV, computer, monitor, printer, or DVD player. And by that time, in 15 minutes,
Yeah.
I was up to my pockets. It was 3 feet of
Oh my gosh.
canal water. So it was a mess. That night, I slept upstairs. Okay, I couldn't leave the house, and I couldn't be downstairs with 3 feet of water. In the morning, when I woke up, I went downstairs. It receded. There was no water in the house anymore, but the damage was already done.
Now you're left with just the damage and the mold and everything
Yeah,
else.
so what
What
did
had happened to the boiler? Was it that? What was
Yeah, I
it?
have pictures. You want to see the pictures?
Yeah, I really do. Okay, so what caused the oil spill?
The line broke. I guess with the shifting with the water, it broke the line, the fuel line. And it's, as you can see, that's why I want to show you the pictures. It's confined under the stairwell, actually, covered by sheetrock.
Are you saying
and
it
stuff
didn't
like
smell?
That. No, I'm not saying that at all.
Right.
But I'm saying it was the smell was the oil was contained, and that's the purpose of that.
Right, but did it smell on the second story?
It probably smelled drastically, no, because what happened was I called, what am I going to do? I went downstairs and I called and they said, cat litter, Tide, detergent, white vinegar, baking soda, just keep putting that stuff down.
I'm sure that you tried like crazy to remedy the situation. That's really not the question. The question is the place habitable or isn't it? And there's 2 reasons why it sounds like it wasn't habitable in November. One of them is the smell. Well, the smell is a very difficult thing to prove in court. You could video yourself going, but that's not very probative. But the second thing, which is like a slam dunk, is there's no heat and hot water, which is a landlord's obligation to provide. It's not, I understand it's an act of God and everything, but who's going to eat it? It's not going to be him if it's your obligation to provide. He doesn't have to pay November. Did you happen to have rent, the kind of insurance that covers you for when you can't rent the place?
No.
Okay,
no.
So we know who's eating that. Let's talk about the other stuff. According to you, you're keeping the deposit and suing him because there's damages to the place. So let's focus on the damages.
If you could take any possession out of your house before a hurricane, what would it be?
My cat.
Okay, good answer. What do you think?
My photo albums, it's the family, it's history.
Ma'am?
My personal documents, my bill.
Important but boring. You get the last word.
I'd take my jingle dress.
Your what?
My jingle dress.
What's that?
It's Native American regalia.
Interesting. Okay, I'm glad I went to you. Going inside the courtroom.
Window cranks, let's talk about that. What kind of windows are these?
Can I show you pictures?
Let's see them.
They're casement windows, the Anderson casement windows.
That are how old?
15 years old.
Bailiff?
Oh, you.
There we go. Thank you, sir.
My bailiff gets very nervous when people walk towards me.
He stepped.
Okay, and so what's the deal? That you're looking at them and...
There's 9 windows in the house, 18 cranks.
Okay, and?
9 of them are damaged. They're either stripped completely. You can't open the window.
Okay, and did you strip them?
No, Your Honor.
What stripped them? Age?
They were like that when I moved in.
Okay.
They were about as old as the wallpaper, which, was probably from 1975.
Now, these are casement windows that are 15 years old. What did he do to break them, as opposed to that they kind of, that's kind of the life of the window?
I can't answer that.
I
Your
know.
Honor.
Well, you want me to. You can't answer it, but you want me to find that he broke them and has to pay you for them. All right, got it. It's not just if it happens during his tenancy, it doesn't mean he's responsible for it. If anything, might be the opposite. Like, why are you renting a place that has broken windows? Like, you're supposed to be maintaining the place and on top of this kind of thing. All right, so the painting. The guy lived there 4 years. Why does he have to pay for the painting of the place?
All right.
Your Honor, the real reason we're here today is because the defendant lied to me about my security
Just a
deposit.
minute. What do you say you paid to paint it?
How much did the painting cost me? Of that 26, probably 1,800.
May I please see the proof of that?
I don't have the proof of that.
Okay, where do you think this is going? Okay, here's what we got. All right, I'm sorry that Hurricane Sandy happened for a million reasons and for a million people. but he doesn't owe you rent because the place was uninhabitable. He doesn't owe you window cranks because these casement windows, the cranks eventually go in 15 years. And the only thing he could conceivably owe you is painting if I had any proof of what it is that had to be done. So your case is utterly devoid of proof. And even the paint I'm not sure about, because the guy lived there 4 years. I mean, I personally, after a tenant I've been a landlord and a tenant for many years. And I personally, after a tenant leaves, 4 years later, I think the new tenant deserves a fresh coat of paint, which in no way, shape, or form is going to cost $2,600. Give the guy back his security deposit. On your counterclaim, $0, and on his claim against you, $2,100. Verdict for the plaintiff.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Good luck, folks.
Another Sandy case as the fallout from that devastating storm continues. What's your reaction to the outcome here?
Well, I feel the fact that he didn't vacate my premises, he didn't move out to the 17th. I mean, basically, if he would have moved out this November 1st, then he wouldn't have owed a month rent. But he didn't move out. I had to sleep in my office on a couch with my 2 dogs in their dog beds in my office.
And your golf clubs.
And my golf clubs.
Oh, at least you got those.
Yes.
All right. Right around the corner this way, right? All right, so those are his priorities. Step on in here. What's your feeling on the outcome here?
No comments, Kurt. Thanks.
No comments. All right, Harvey.
Okay, here's the thing. Plaintiff lived in this place for 4 years. So the notion of having to repaint a place and that's a tenant's responsibility is baloney. That the tenant does not have to pay for normal wear and tear. And after living in a place for 4 years, they're not going to be socked with painting.